I can still picture that night at the Horizon Tech Solutions annual gala like a scene from a movie I wish I could forget. The ballroom of the downtown Chicago Marriott was alive with forced laughter and clinking glasses. Crystal chandeliers cast warm golden light over tables draped in white linens, while servers weaved through the crowd balancing trays of caviar-topped canapés and flutes of bubbly. We'd just wrapped up what the executives called our most efficient quarter yet, efficiency that meant quietly shipping entire teams to overseas contractors. Everyone was celebrating like we'd won the lottery. But I knew the undercurrent of unease. Layoffs had been whispered about for months. I stood near the back by the bar, sipping flat ginger ale from a plastic flute, trying to blend into the wallpaper. My tie felt too tight. Victor Lang, the VP of Operations, had already climbed onto the stage twice, spraying sparkling wine like we were at the Super Bowl halftime show. The Imagine Dragons track blasted again as he praised his own strategic pivots. People cheered wildly. No one mentioned the 3 departments quietly dismantled last month. Then the MC's voice boomed with theatrical flair.
Now,
Let's recognize someone who's been the backbone of our compliance efforts for 17 long years. Please welcome Alex Thompson. The spotlight swung awkwardly toward the side tables. A few people chuckled nervously. Alex rose slowly from a seat in the dimly lit corner. He was in his mid-40s. Handsome in that understated way, tall with a strong jaw. Salt and pepper hair neatly combed. Eyes that had always carried quiet intelligence. Tonight, though, his shoulders were tense. He straightened his cuffs deliberately, like he was buying time, and walked toward the stage in measured steps. No fanfare music played for him, just echoing silence broken by half-hearted claps that fizzled out. Victor met him halfway, flashing a smug grin that didn't reach his eyes. He handed over a small white envelope, no plaque, no firm handshake, nothing. Alex opened it right there under the lights. I watched his face from afar, the moment of confusion. Then the lockup as he read the single typed line. Your position has been eliminated due to redundancy. Effective immediately. The room seemed to hold its breath. Then awkward laughter rippled through like this was the punchline to an inside joke. Someone behind me whispered too loudly. Backbone? More like outdated code. Victor clapped Alex on the shoulder with fake camaraderie. End of an era.
buddy.
Thanks for the memories. The laughter wasn't vicious, it was worse. Careless. Dismissive. Like Alex was the forgotten extra in their success story. Alex didn't argue. He didn't yell. He simply nodded once, folded the envelope into his jacket pocket, and walked off the stage. He moved past the dessert towers and helium balloons with the dignity of a man heading to his own quiet end, not wanting to disturb the party. While the crowd erupted again for the next promotion announcement, a flashy new title for some recent hire, I stood frozen. It felt like watching something irreplaceable vanish in plain sight. Alex had been the guy who kept our federal export compliance systems running smoothly for years. The quiet architect of the old infrastructure that held our government contracts together. No one else understood the legacy layers anymore. After the gala wrapped, I spotted the envelope tossed carelessly into a trash bin near the service exit. The plastic badge inside was still warm from his pocket. That's when the weight hit me. This wasn't random. It was deliberate erasure. Alex had been the last keeper of our pre-2020 compliance backbone. The parts everyone ignored because they assumed cloud tools made history obsolete. I recalled a night years earlier when a critical export report crashed at 2 a.m. I was panicking in the empty office. Alex appeared with 2 vending machine coffees, glanced at my screen, and said calmly, "Classic date field null in the section 14 loop. Happens on legacy exports." He fixed it in minutes without sitting down and left with a nod. That was Alex, always there, never seeking credit. He drove away from the valet line in his reliable sedan. No music. Windows up. Straight-backed like any ordinary evening. By morning, his system profile was wiped clean. Deleted. Not archived. I ran a quick internal query. User not found. 17 years gone in hours. I texted him once. You holding up? No reply. That evening, Alex pulled into the driveway of his modest suburban home outside Chicago. The porch light flickered weakly. Inside, dust motes danced in the late sun streaming through blinds. Family photos on the fridge showed younger Alex shaking hands with former CTOs long since pushed out. He didn't remove his coat. He walked straight to the utility closet, knelt, and pulled out an old fireproof safe. Fingers steady on the dial, 4-9-2-1. It clicked open. Inside lay yellowed folders. His original contract, tenure notes, and one clipped packet labeled in faded marker, conditional retention protections, legacy staff. He flipped to Section 4B. Termination without board ratification. Fallback authority retained for critical licensing mechanisms designed prior to 2020. Alex's thumb traced the clause. It was ironclad. Added back when the company nearly lost federal status during funding scares. They'd promised him control safeguards. Forgotten now. Perhaps deliberately. A cold clarity settled over him. No rage. Just precision. He retrieved his old personal laptop from the garage, air-gapped. Never company monitored. Booted it up. Launched the private aggregator he'd coded himself years ago. There it was. The renewal keys for the federal compliance licenses, still tied to his fallback ID, expiring in 72 hours. He typed a single header in a new document, Section 4B Enforcement. Then he made coffee and began mapping the steps. They wanted to delete him? They should have checked the code he wrote. The next morning, Alex arrived early at the office of Rebecca Klein, an experienced attorney whose small practice occupied the second floor of a quiet brick building near the courthouse. Frosted glass on the door read simply R.
Klein.
J.D. Rebecca, in her late 50s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor, barely glanced up from her paper files. You look like you haven't slept. Alex slid the manila folder across her desk without preamble. She flipped through the contract pages methodically. When she reached Section 4B, her eyebrows arched. You kept the originals? Alex nodded. And scans. Clean copies, too. Rebecca read slower this time, murmuring the key language. In event of unilateral termination absent board ratification or due process. Originating contributor retains regulatory fallback authority over system-critical licensing mechanisms implemented prior to 2020. She whistled low. This is watertight. Restorative equity protections apply. Control stays with you until a certified board-reviewed replacement protocol. Rebecca leaned back. They didn't hold any vote, did they? Alex shook his head, placing the Gala envelope on the desk. The voided badge and printed notice stared up at them. Rebecca stared back, then smiled faintly. They fired you publicly at a company event. On video, no less. Alex turned his laptop screen toward her. 70 hours until license cutoff. Rebecca tapped the edge thoughtfully. If you don't validate, systems enter mitigation mode. Audits trigger automatically. Federal contracts pause. They spent the next hour documenting everything. Hash-stamped certificates. Logs. Timestamps. Outside, rain began tapping steadily against the window panes, matching the quiet rhythm of the printer spitting out copies. Back home, Alex didn't celebrate or rage. He uploaded secure backups to a dead man's switch server he'd set up years earlier. Then he fixed a loose bolt on the water heater in the garage and powered down his phone. The weight had shifted. It now rested on Horizon's shoulders. The first cracks appeared Sunday evening. Emails flooded in starting around 6 p.m. Subject lines grew increasingly urgent. Compliance license access query, urgent. From the compliance coordinator politely. Then procurement asking for clarification. Finally, Victor himself. Hey, Alex. Hope all is well. Quick favor on back-end details. Alex read them silently, noting the rising desperation hidden behind corporate politeness. He didn't respond. By Monday morning,
Calls began.
he let them ring to voicemail. Legal followed. Please confirm availability for clarification on legacy credential matters. They avoided saying access. Panic was creeping in. Alex monitored silently via his shadow logs, failed login attempts on the renewal portal starting late Sunday night. 5 tries, including one from Victor's device. Guessing passwords on a federal gate. Inside Horizon's offices, tension mounted. An internal thread titled, License Reassignment Urgent, circulated quietly. Few even realized Alex had been cut. When IT tried assigning new credentials, the system rejected. Access restricted to fallback authority. Board vote required per Section 4B. No one knew what Section 4B was. Victor called an emergency leadership huddle, downplaying it over donuts. Legacy glitch. We'll have legal and dev sort it by close of business. He omitted the Gala video and lack of vote. But by mid-afternoon, the validation tracker shifted to orange. Renewal tokens failed to overwrite Alex's authority. The countdown continued ticking. Alex spent the day in quiet routine grocery run, reading a book on his porch. No gloating,
Just certainty.
Meanwhile, the board began receiving alerts as audit windows flickered. Finance directors questioned procurement on potential federal review impacts. Interns Googled the clause frantically. Alex's name hung unspoken in every meeting like a ghost command no one had bothered to learn. By evening, 48 hours remained. The silence from Alex wasn't defiance. It was the system he built enforcing its own rules. Tension escalated overnight. At 12:03 a.m., Alex's carefully worded email arrived in key inboxes. Subject: Section 4B enforcement imminent. Attachments included the signed clause PDF, hash server logs, and portal screenshots. No threats, just precise legal language. Per terms of my retention agreement, system-level control over licenses HL, Fed, 0923 and HL, EXT, 111 reverts to fallback authority. Replacement demands documented board vote and validation per original policy. No such vote on record. Automated logs choked shortly after as renewal pushes failed. Blocked by dormant scripts Alex authored in 2018, hard stops labeled 4B lock. They activated only on forcible credential stripping without process. The code, dormant for years, now enforced justice. Legal scrambled. General Counsel Arjun Patel was pulled from bed by board members. No HR file. No termination protocol existed on record. Victor texted ops leads frantically. Minor hiccup. Rollback in progress. Do not escalate. But rollbacks failed repeatedly. Fallback lock enforced. Contact authority owner. By 4:30 a.m., an emergency board session was set. Executives dialed in from kitchens and hotel rooms, half-dressed and panicked. Alex, meanwhile, slept soundly for the first time in days. His fallback server blinked green steadily. Sunrise brought the boardroom confrontation. The usually boisterous space fell eerily silent except for nervous cuffling clicks. Arjun displayed Alex's email screenshot on the monitor. Section 4B states that upon termination without formal ratification, fallback authority remains active over critical licenses expiring in 30 hours. Attempts to override have failed. Alex Thompson is the sole recognized authority. Victor cleared his throat. This is old contract nonsense. We had discretionary clearance. Arjun fixed him with a stare. Did you secure a board vote before termination? The question landed heavily. Murmurs erupted. He was fired at the gala? Videos on LinkedIn. Arjun tapped his folder. Fallback is enforceable. Continued attempts log as breaches. The CEO entered late, holding old handwritten notes. He placed the crumpled gala notice in the table's center. You fired our license holder on video without process. The room deflated. Losing federal compliance meant revenue collapse. Suspended contracts. Client flight. Options narrowed to one. Alex. By afternoon, a formal email arrived marked confidential. It expressed regret for the termination manner and offered senior advisory reinstatement with equity restoration and bonus. Alex read it over coffee, walked to check his mailbox, then replied at 4:03 p.m., already committed elsewhere. Decline. The rejection landed like a gut punch. Headlines leaked soon after. Horizon Tech faces surprise compliance crisis days before deadline. Former engineer at center of turmoil. The gala firing video fueled outrage. Alex sat calmly in a quiet neighborhood cafe. Dashboard showing red nodes as systems wound down methodically, not crashing, but reverting per design. A text from former colleague Mia arrived. You okay? He photographed the gala envelope and badge. Replying simply, kept the note. Rebecca Klein forwarded an updated offer, double equity plus cash. Nearing board-level incentives. Alex's response remained consistent. They should have read the fine print. Former colleagues sent apologetic texts. Vendors forwarded urgent memos. The director of finance messaged, they're scrambling, throwing everything at legal. What next? But Alex did nothing more. The architecture he'd built spoke for him through every failed renewal, bounced request, and desperate ping into the void. Power returned not through confrontation but absence. The silence they once punished became their reckoning. In the boardroom, options dwindled. No overrides worked. Federal reporting deadlines loomed. Executives debated buyouts, consulting gigs, even public apologies. Yet each path circled back to Alex's terms. The CEO admitted quietly, we handed out trophies while the foundation walked out with the keys. Alex reflected during a solitary walk under low clouds. It was never revenge. It was respect, acknowledging the human cost of discarding experience for short-term optics. The gala's careless laughter echoed in memory, now hollow against the company's unraveling. By late afternoon, more frantic outreach arrived. Alex ignored them, closing his laptop as systems continued their precise countdown. The lock held firm. As the final hours ticked down, Horizon faced unavoidable exposure. Audits would trigger. Contracts paused. The board prepared damage control statements. But the damage was internal first, trust shattered, arrogance exposed. Alex returned to his porch with evening coffee, watching neighborhood lights flicker on. The envelope sat under a paperweight shaped like an old padlock. He hadn't needed drama or raised voices. Precision sufficed. In the end, the story leaves a lingering question. How often do we dismiss the quiet keepers of our foundations, only to realize too late that without them, the entire structure falters? Alex never sought the spotlight, yet his absence illuminated the cost of forgetting those who built what we take for granted. The empire learned the hard way that legacy isn't easily deleted. Some mistakes echo longest in the silence they create.